Okay, so it's Thursday afternoon, Romford Horror Festival, and we've just seen the Thursday afternoon short slot. So, fantastic shorts we've had today, and I've got filmmakers behind two of them. So, if you'd like to just introduce yourself and your role within the film and the name of the film, please.
I'm Jason Impey, and I'm the writer and director of the film Accusation.
I'm James Alexander Allen. I was the co-writer and director of Ash Sunday.
I'm Neil James, and I played Guy in Ash Sunday for James.
Fantastic, thank you all for joining us. So we've just seen your films on the big screen. How does that feel to see it? Is it a proud moment? Are there things you'd still notice that you're not happy with? What's your reaction to it initially?
For me, I'm always terrified and nervous when I see my work on the big screen. I'd not seen that film for a little while myself. I'd made it, and it was submitted a long time ago, and I put it to bed, and I hadn't revisited it, so I was very nervous. Sitting with an audience as well is terrifying, but I was pretty happy because it was quite a simplistic film, so I was quite happy how it turned out.
I mean, there's always things that you kind of you notice. I mean, the weird thing is that when you direct the film, you see it so many times in so many different sort of iterations. Mm-hmm. It becomes very kind of familiar to you, and it's strange that when you leave it a little bit and see it on the big screen, there's always things where you go, oh, I would have taken out a couple of frames there, or put the shot in here and that kind of thing. But there's always it's not so much seeing it, it's hearing it. I think the sound quality you get in a place like this really does add something to it.
Yeah, and I think all the films sounded amazing. That's the second time I've seen Ash Sunday, but the first time was on a much smaller screen, so yeah, it was really good. Yeah, I was really impressed. Absolutely.
Can I ask Jason first, where did the idea first come from? How did you go about writing it?
It's quite a personal film, so I'd worked with Martin W. Payne, who was the actor in that film, a few times, and he had experienced some stuff over the past year when we did that. And I myself, a few years ago, went through quite a dark time, and so it was kind of, we combined our experiences and did a bit of a personal kind of film. Almost, you could say it was a bit of a therapy session where we was kind of just expressing some troubling times we'd had and related it to some of the experiences we've had in both life and with independent film, and as a bit of a cry out, getting it off your chest kind of moment.
Mm-hmm. Cathartic.
Yeah.
Did it work?
Yes, yeah. I think it was nice. Yeah, it's a nice venting system, using film to vent, really.
James, where did the idea of your film come from?
I mean, I was just doing a lot of line blitzing sessions and rattling out ideas, and one that stuck out was family scatter grandma's ashes over the Sunday roast, and
it's a great idea. I've never seen that before.
It was a thing as well. We just made a cold caller, and this guy Joel had come on to produce at the last minute, and he'd come on for a day. We got on really well. He said, "I want to produce your next project," and so I said to him, "Let's make a short film that has a real budget and scale and has proper balls to the wall. See if we can do that, and then if we like doing that, we can go on and do other things." And he just said, "Send me a list of ideas," and one of the ones I sent was "Scattered Grandma's Ashes Over the Sunday Roast," and that was the one that ultimately he liked, because it was it allowed us to kind of go for some crazy practical visual effects, mm-hmm. and sort of big dialogue scenes with quite a few people at a table.
Yep. Most
of the stuff I'd done before that had been sort of almost silent films mostly, and so it was a bit of a step up for me. And so yeah, it was an exercise to really push ourselves and see what we could do, and how ready we were to go forward. And the answer was very ready indeed.
Mm-hmm. Do you want to tell us about, Neil, do you want to tell us about maybe, did you get any kind of rehearsal time, or what kind of discussion did you have with James? How did it work for you?
We did have a rehearsal day.
You had one,
yeah, which was, I think, the main 4 members of the family. We had a rehearsal day. just because we were going to be spending 4 days in quite an enclosed space together, and we hadn't all met. I mean, I'd met Lena, but I hadn't met the other two actors. And yeah, so I think we were in like a church hall or something. But
it was like a community centre in Worthing, I think it was. Yeah, it was like a little sort of community hall place.
Yeah, and we sat around and we did the dining table scene. If anyone that's ever shot 4 people around a dining table, it takes ages. It really does, because of all the setups, all the angles. Yeah. I mean, that was a couple of days, wasn't it? We were around the table.
3.5 days at that table.
Yeah. I was amazed that the house we shot in was tiny. And it looks really big in the film, doesn't it? It actually looks quite big, but it was really small.
Yes, it did on Airbnb as well.
Yeah. Yeah. So there was 6 cast members and a full crew, all in just that one house, one bathroom. It was we got to know each other very very quickly, and it was August as well, so it was hot in there. Yeah, it worked. There was no no major issues that I can remember.
Jason, on the complete other end of the scale, yours is a one-man film, isn't it? With Martin. Yeah, Martin is fantastic in this. Like Martin is in a lot of films, that we've shown, and I don't think he'll mind me saying this is the best that he's ever been. I think it's brilliant.
Yeah, no, thanks.
How did the two of you work? Because obviously completely different to those guys who are all in one space. Just two of you. Well, I'm guessing maybe there's some other crew, but how did you kind of go about just the two of you?
No, yeah, it was. The film was just me and Martin. My wife did the score afterwards in post-production, but apart from that, it was me and Martin. I'd worked with Martin quite a lot over the years. Martin's got quite a reputation of doing extreme cinema, particularly with me, and it's a kind of it haunts me actually. I've done 2 decades of quite extreme independent filmmaking, which I'm both proud of, but at the same time it kind of burdens me when I'm trying to do a serious piece of film. And I had spoke to Martin about this, saying that it'd be good to try and do something more dramatic, which I've done, but is always overshadowed. And again, Martin being quite known for independent films of quite an extreme nature at times, I said it'd be interesting for people to see your performance rather than it being kind of masked by all the crazy stuff happening on screen. He was very on board for doing that, to try and show his acting skills off, and we spent hours discussing what bothers us. So we did. It was kind of a rehearsal, but not. We spent a lot of time getting ourselves in the mood, and I was kind of digging deep, and I was almost depressing Martin to put him in the right mood, to be quite angry with the world, and I was telling him all stuff I'd gone through which he knew about and had been there for. And so I spent a long time depressing him to get that performance out, basically.
What are you most proud about your film, Jason, or maybe even also what's something you learnt about yourself whilst making it?
I'm proud that how received it's been. It's not had many screenings, but the little ones it's had, and again what you're saying, people actually have noticed Martin more for his acting than the extreme cinema, which is what I'm proud of. I'm proud to show there's more to myself and Martin than just extreme cinema, so I take that as a proud chip on the block.
Same question to you, James, and then Neil after. What are you most proud of with this film, or something you learnt that you can take away from it?
I think what I'm probably the proudest of is it's the moment just after the eye when the horse turns up, and it's just that little scene which ends with his spectacular stunt where he flies out of the chair. We had no idea he was going to do it sell that as brilliantly as he did. But I loved how that turned out, and like the timing and the escalation, and it was what I really wanted to do with the film. What I learned making this film is how much I actually like directing films when you don't have anything else to do, because it's a thing of, at this level, you tend to basically put on all the hats. You're the guy that has to do all of the sort of like the scheduling, all the organising, all the editing. I've done films where it's literally just been me doing everything, and this is the first film where I had another guy doing all the producing and crew doing every other role. So all I had to do was direct, And now that that's all that I had to do, I realised I actually really like it and I want to do it more. So that was a nice thing to learn, really.
But less of the other stuff that you didn't want to do before.
Yeah, I don't think I'll ever produce again after that.
Right.
Something I learned from Ash Sunday was that you have to trust the director, trust the director's vision for how the visual effects will turn out. There's a bit towards the end of the film where our faces are kind of getting dragged towards the ghost of the mother. And I remember on that day, we felt quite stupid because there was no effects on it. So we were just, and I think James was going, no, more, really, so but what you've actually got is 3 actors just going, that, and I think at the time, James was going, no, we'll put stuff on so this will, we'll elongate your faces and everything like that, because we don't really know what it's going to look like at the time, but actually I think the finished effect looks really good. So I think it's just to learn that, it doesn't matter if you feel stupid or look stupid, because it will pay off. Yeah. But it's tough, especially when you're working with people that you don't know that well, you're not, wholly comfortable out, and you're asked to do something ridiculous like that. But yeah, I think the effect looks great.
We got that one done right at the last minute as well. It gave us a lot of trouble, that shot.
Was there any audience questions at this point? Pop your hand up. Yep, one here. We haven't got a roving, so we just shout.
Shout it.
Okay.
So obviously the editing process takes quite a lot of time. How many kind of drafts did it go through until the finished version was ready?
So how many drafts of the script? Is that for both?
Yeah, drafts of the script, also of the final edit of the film as well.
Final edit as well.
Yeah, so for me, that was about the 4th edit, really. So there was a sort of script, but I must admit, I let Martin play with it. So because we did a workshop and we kind of mapped out what was going to be said and the points, I did let him play with it. He did actually go on for quite a bit. It was too long. I was very conscious, and certain festivals obviously want short films 10 minutes and under as well. So I had to have a lot of. I didn't want to cut anything important out, but I had to try and rein it in, really. We were worried it was going to be too short, but it ended up being too long, so I had to try and make it not boring. And I must admit, the one thing I panicked about is just having one shot of Martin talking to camera, so I did go through an archive of footage that I'd built up with behind-the-scenes stuff, other clips, and I thought I had already thought about doing it. I worry about audiences getting bored, because it was very brave just to have an actor sat there. I had a lot of turmoil, but there was a lot of back and forth with the cutaways more than anything. But the script a little bit ad-lib, but the edit about 4 for me.
Yeah, there weren't that many drafts of the script for Ash Sunday. If off the top of my head, I figured there were about 7. Because it's a thing of, I always do one and I go over it again before I send it. And I know that our gaffer, Zach, actually turned in a draft himself, which at the producer's request. And then we didn't really sort of use that one, but we incorporated it going forward. And because when I first did it, there was a very different sort of villain motivation for the Ghost of the Grandmother, and then Zach brought in a lot of the family past, so there was a skeleton in the cupboard kind of angle, and then it's often the way that you I don't discover the theme until quite late on, and it was, I think, the last draft of the script I came up with the line, "The mum that I had was enough," and I realised, this is about discovering maybe controversial family secrets after the family members passed, right? And that was, once that came in, we got it locked in. The editing process, again, we didn't go through many, but you see, the editor for this one, George, who is a brilliant director that Neil's worked with as well. It's great to have an editor that is also a storyteller, and it was a thing of the first sort of cut he did. There wasn't really much need to change. It was just about speeding it up. I like things to be quite fast, more intense, basically. And yeah, and we did go through a re-editing process for this one. We regraded it and that kind of thing. But yeah, it was the scripting process was quite short for this one. The edit was little bit longer, but again, by my standards, I normally tinker like crazy, so it probably wasn't. It was probably quite an efficient process all the way through, really.
I got nothing on the editing, the editing side of it.
Jason, do you edit your own films, or does someone else?
Yeah, I'm a control freak.
I was going to say, yeah. How do you know when it's finished?
It's a nightmare, really. So I always wanted to make films when I was young, and I went to study it, and I fell into the technical side. So and as a freelancer, I edit and film a lot of various videos, trailers, corporates, commercials. So I am an editor by trade in a way. So I kind of just give myself that job, but letting go of your own edit is, I know there's good and bad to it. I drive myself crazy signing the edit off and mastering it. It really does drive me mad.
Yeah, if it was me, I'd just be constantly trying to find more stuff. But at some point, you need to stop, don't you?
Yeah, that's what I have to tell myself in the end. I try and give myself a deadline. Going,
Right,
it has to be
okay,
sent off. It
well,
has to go.
So, was there any other audience questions before I ask my last one? No. Okay, so go on.
Well,
Go on.
I had a question for just about the location.
Oh,
Was because it's mentioned that it's he says about aeroplanes going over. But was it like a bit of private land, or did you have sort of people milling about at the time?
it was a forest near where I live, and it's a really nice picturesque forest with occasional dog walkers and horse riders. But it was open to the public. We grilled it, so we dived in there, and I tried to go as deep as we could and tuck ourselves away, and that we were quite lucky actually.
Yeah, it looks great.
So someone comes up to you and gives you all the money in the world and says you can remake a horror film. Which horror film would you remake?
I'm a huge fan of Bram Stoker's Dracula, the 1992 one. That's one of my favourite films. I love the story. Yeah. So visually, the transitions, editing, and that, I love it. So I would love a go at doing a film on that calibre. To be honest.
How about you, James?
I don't know if this would necessarily. I don't know if this would count as horror, but I would love to remake Arnold Ridley's The Ghost Train. I don't know if it's spooky. I don't know if would you count that as horror? Because it's had like 2 film adaptations ever, and it's a thing of the one with Arthur Askey. It's good, but it's sort of the addition of Arthur Askey makes the story make no sense. And it's like a thing of I've always wanted. I've always sort of felt I'd love to sort of do that one and kind of do it because I'm quite sort of funny. Most of the stuff I do is comical, and it's like there is a lot of humour in the Ghost Train, but it is ultimately kind of it's a serious thing as well. And yeah, I'd like to do that one.
Neil, how about you? Or you can ask, I guess, if you could act alongside anyone, who would it be? If you want to answer that one, it's up to you.
God, it's a hard question. Anyone? I'm a fan of Toni Collette. Who also said like her performance in Hereditary. Kind of terrifies me. I think she's fantastic. Anthony Hopkins. I know he's getting on a bit now, but I still his Silence of the Lambs performance is just a masterclass. I think. So, yeah. Well.
2 great answers.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, thank you so much for submitting your films and coming here to share them with us. Can I have a round of applause, please, for our filmmakers?